listening to an encore presentation of The Kevin Jackson Show.
I got time for one more question.
Mr. President, if Robert Mueller asks you to come and speak with his committee personally, are you committed still to doing that? Do you believe that?
Just so you understand, there's been no collusion. There's been no crime. And in theory, everybody tells me I'm not under investigation. Maybe Hillary is, I don't know, but I'm not. But there's been no collusion. There's been no crime. But we have been very open. We could have done it two ways. We could have been very closed, and it would have taken years. But, you know, it's sort of like when you've done nothing wrong, let's be open and get it over with. Because, honestly, it's very, very bad for our country. It's making our country look foolish. And this is a country that I don't want looking foolish. And it's not going to look foolish as long as I'm here. So we've been very open, and we just want to get that over with.
I love that about Donald Trump. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So Donald Trump's responding to the question of, you know, would you cooperate? What else can he do? They gave him Papadopoulos' emails. They gave him Donald Trump Jr.'s emails. Donald Trump said, in no uncertain terms, if you got to investigate somebody surrounding me, go for it. I mean, look, this is all media subterfuge. But here's what I want to play. I want to get that clip ready for Mika, or Micah, whatever her name is, Brzezinski. I want you to hear this, but before I even tease it, I want you to hear what she has to say, and then I'm going to give you my opinion about it.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing to a guy with autocratic tendencies. So there you go.
And it all plays into the bigger picture. I had some friends that went to Paris over the holiday, and they said they were viscerally...
Paris, Texas, right?
Paris, France.
Oh, Paris, France.
And they said they were just viscerally embarrassed to be Americans. They said it was the first time that it was sort of chilling, that they didn't even want to share where they were from.
I chuckled at that. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. What's striking about that comment is there's no way to verify it. Oh my, I have some friends of mine called and they told me, that they were in Paris and they're embarrassed about being embarrassed about what? Embarrassed about the fact that the United States has had a resurgence? Embarrassed that the United States is forcing NATO to pay its bills? Embarrassed that the United States is dealing with Russia like with big boy pants, dealing with China to where we now have opened up that market to not only us, but to the rest of the world? Embarrassed about what? That North Korea has now reached out to South Korea? That the U.S. economy is booming? Look, the funny thing about this is nobody challenges these people. Somebody on that panel should have said, well, what would your friends have to be embarrassed about? Let me ask you this. Would they have been more embarrassed under Obama, given that our economy now seems to be booming? From a world stage point of view, I'm talking about the way the world is looking at us. Don't you feel that our foreign policy now has a little bit more meat on the bones? What would they specifically tell me? What were they embarrassed about? Are they embarrassed about the president? What? Because if that's the case, couldn't somebody else have come back from Paris and said they were just as embarrassed about Barack Obama being president? Let me ask you, Mika, do you have any friends that are embarrassed about the Obama administration? Do you know any Democrats who are embarrassed that Barack Obama lost over 1,000 seats during his tenure as presidency? Were any of them embarrassed by Barack Obama making the statement that Donald Trump couldn't save Carrier and then he did it? Are they embarrassed that Barack Obama said to us, we wouldn't bring back manufacturing jobs, and Donald Trump is doing it? Are you embarrassed that Barack Obama implied that he was the only guy who could make this economy grow when he couldn't get 3% GDP and said Donald Trump could, but Donald Trump got 3% GDP 2 quarters in a row? Are you embarrassed about that? It's crazy. Our credit rating was lower during the time of Obama. Cops being killed, mass shootings, terror attacks, and I could go on, and they could find nothing to be embarrassed about. They're big hypocrites is what they are. Every single one to their rotten core are hypocrites. I told you a friend of mine, he talked about the Golden Globes, and he sent out a thing that said he was embarrassed at Oprah Winfrey, and he got responses back. And one of the responses back was, unfortunately, our youth idolize false gods because they are force-fed that on our TV and social media. We need to show the public front and center who the real heroes are. Single mothers, veterans, firefighters, EMT, doctors, etc. People need to realize that the heroes are not people who play these false, idols in Hollywood. They're not our heroes. Your heroes should begin at home. They tell you a lot of stuff begins at home. Charity begins at home. Let me tell you what begins at home. Hero worship. And it starts with your mother and your father. That's who you should idolize. You should idolize your grandparents. So I'll give you an example. I have an uncle. He's worth millions of dollars. He was a coach, a high school coach, wrestling coach. And he got involved in real estate. He dabbled in it, and he had his own special way he did it. And right before the market crashed, he sold all of his real estate holdings. Moved out to Montana. Built a 6,500 square foot cabin right on the mountains, right at the foothill of the mountains. 120 acre little spread there. And he's worth millions of dollars. And he was a high school wrestling coach. And he saw the opportunity to start investing and doing his money right. And he has his own technique. I wouldn't have invested like him. He never tried to make money while he had the product, the properties. He just kept them going because he was always waiting on the sale. Then he timed it, boop, and the sale came. And I'm telling you, he's worth over $50 million. He was a high school wrestling coach. And this is a guy that did it by the book, played all the rules, didn't cut any corners. He didn't know anybody. He didn't hobnob with wealthy people and all this other stuff. He and a Mexican dude that he met, they became partners, and both of them settled out of this thing. Very, very wealthy men, blue collar guys. Anyway, those are the idols. The guys that aren't running around trying to drive Ferraris and jet set people and all this other stuff. These people in Hollywood are a joke. I want to play this next clip. This is a guy. These are the panel on Morning Joe talking about Donald Trump and his tweeting on North Korea.
Because there's just some still connection to normalcy here. For all of our lifetimes, any president of any party who treated threats of nuclear war in any way, in a cavalier way, we've not seen that really from Republicans or Democrats. Anybody who treated this cavalierly would be roundly condemned by all serious people in both parties. He is not merely being cavalier with a threat about nuclear war. He's being cavalier in a way that makes him seem demented and deranged and makes no serious of our serious allies or adversaries around the world think that he's a serious person talking in this way about the most serious threat that the world ever faces.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. That was an MSNBC panel, and they paint Trump as he's a crazy man. Look at him. He's talking about pushing the button. Kim Jong-un says, I got a button. Donald Trump says, my button's bigger. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. See, look, to me it's so obvious. You see the shift. He's deranged. He's delusional. He's unhinged. How could we possibly trust him? By the way, a regurgitation. We're just circling back to what they said originally when Donald Trump was running for president. He's crazy. He's unfit. Why would we turn this economy over to him? He could have the nuclear football. He could push the button at any time. Yeah, and he's pushing buttons, all right. He's pushing buttons that makes your very sane president of Barack Obama, the guy who is supposed to be the most amazing guy ever, and Donald Trump in year one is essentially made Barack Obama look so ineffective that it is causing the left to lose their minds. They tell you who they are by trying to tell you what somebody else is. Remember, I told you this. The left are telling you folks they are deranged, unhinged, unfit to lead, losing their minds, all of it. And it's a fact. Because everything they believe is down the drain. everything that they've put their hopes into. They invested so much in lunacy. They invested in leftism. They invested in Barack Obama. And you are watching a guy without even breaking a sweat destroy it. Let me put it to you this way. You think you can run. You think you're fast. Okay? And you've been running in high school and you're winning your races. And then you go to college and you get out on that track and there's a guy who's running alongside you, just looking at you, and he's smiling. It's not even a race to him. And you are straining. You've got it all in. And there's nothing you can do except you look at this guy and go, wow.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.